Greetings, traveler.
So we have a new patch. It's not a super big one, but there are some key changes for sure. And overall, I think it's a good one. I think it addresses some of the issues we've been having in the meta. So here we go. We start with no more guiding candle in duos. That's specifically because it's so broken, because you can also, you get directions super fast and you can send stuff to your teammate, and like, it's just, yeah. Then we have Mushroom going from a lesser to a greater trinket, it seems. It goes from just 1 health to +1/+1. As a greater trinket, I take this on turn 9, I get 1/1. And then I get 2/2, so 3/3 total. That's definitely pickable, right? If you're playing demons and you just need spell damage. Yeah, it's the at the start of each turn improve this thing, right? That's really what sells it. Okay, it feels slow compared to Wicked Tome. Not necessarily, right? You're getting 1/1 and then you're getting 2/2 and then you're getting 3/3. Getting 3/3 in one combat already is... I mean, it depends a little bit on your situation. All right, so here we have greater pouches. This was a really annoying trinket to get because it was on turn 6 and turn 9 you would get a greater trinket. But for greater pouches, this used to be trigger on turn 6 and turn 9, and getting certain greater trinkets on turn 6 is just nasty. You get the curator trinket, it's insane tempo. There's even stuff like Wicked Tome and start scaling your spell damage super early. So now they brought it back, but they changed it to turn 8 and turn 9, and I think that that works well. Turn 8 and turn 9, that's basically everyone has souvenir stands, right? That's the anomaly. The anomaly is everyone picks souvenir stand, and then you get it. Or I guess it's trip vouchers. Yeah, everyone has trip vouchers. That's the anomaly. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, everyone has trip vouchers. Cool, yeah, okay, funny. Okay, now we have Horse going from a tier 5 to a tier 4. They buffed it. I can't believe it. It no longer works in the combat phase. So this is very specifically just targeted at the KT interaction. This was such a strong play when you had money. So basically pirates, but also other compositions were pivoting into KT Horse because it was just so strong. What you would do was you get a bunch of mutinous spells. You use the mutinous spells to make a big Blanchy, then you play KT next to the Blanchy, then the KT procs end of turn, you get a huge setup. Oh yeah, I did read that Blanchy is bugged, so you won't find it in your game right now, but you know, maybe by the time you're watching this on YouTube, it's already back, who knows. But yeah, currently disabled. And we'll see that they also brought mutinous spell back because of that, because essentially mutinous spell was disabled, specifically because the Blanchy KT transition was so good. All right, then we have Shulfin Mystic going from a tier 5 to a tier 4. It now gives you +2/+1 when you sell it, as opposed to Battlecry. So this was necessary, at least at high MMR, because it was so incredibly easy with all the extra money you get from trinkets and anomalies to set up either Murkai or Rylak, and especially with Rylak, you could run Hawkstrider, and it's just, you could trigger the Mystic. Let's just say that there are several games out there of people having like 100 spell damage. And, you know, the game was never designed for you to have 100 spell damage, at least not somewhat consistently, right? That should be like a, oh, I have that once in a lifetime game somehow. But you know, high-level players were doing that pretty quickly. And honestly, you didn't even need 100 spell damage, right? You get like 40 spell damage, you already just win, right? You have like 40 spell damage, you get the Murkbrine on the board, you have the Scout in the hand, you put all the stews on the Murkbrine. If the Murkbrine is golden, which it usually is, then the Scout, golden, it's another ×2. You know, people were just summoning 30,000, 40,000 stats worth. Again, routinely, right? This is not like, oh, I saw this one guy do that one time. It's like there's many clips out there of people summoning like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 stats on a Scout, which again, it shouldn't really be possible to do that, at least not somewhat consistently. And the Mystic was essentially the big culprit there because of Battlecry. You can amplify that so easily, right? With Rylak with Titus, you can do Bran, you can do Murkai, you can do Drakari. There's so many ways you can do that. So now that they turn it into a tier 4 and a sell, I don't think it's a bad card. Let me get that first straightened out. It's bad compared to what it was because you can't leverage it as much. It's not easy to get that rolling. But getting +2/+1, let's compare that to Humongous. I think Humongous gives +1/+2 if I'm not mistaken, right? So with Humongous, you need to buy the card, put it on your board, keep it on your board, and you have +1/+2 on your spells. Here with Shoalfin, you just buy it, you sell it, you have +2/+1. So Humongous is not a bad card, right? Humongous really opens up demons a little bit more, opens up any kind of spell buffing stuff. It helps you with Myrmidon buffing if you're doing Naga buffs. So I think this is going to be a pretty decent card now, just to cycle. It's just not something you can use to get like 100 on your spells. I wouldn't just say like, oh, this card is just like useless now. +2/+1 for 2 gold, right? If you are doing spell damage stuff, is not bad. And you can get this from Tad, you can get this from Primal Fin. So yeah, I wouldn't say this card is useless now. It's just not what it was before. Fauna Whisper is still a tier 6, but now it casts on adjacent minions. So I'm assuming that the golden version is adjacent twice. Yeah, that's pretty necessary, to be honest. Fauna Whisper was so niche, it was something you would run if you were running Drakari plus Felfire. But if demons were in, you would always pivot demons if you're running Drakari Felfire, right? So with Fauna, it's, well, I guess it depends on your setup, right? You might just never find the thing that generates the staffs and all that. But yeah, so it's basically what I'm saying is I think it's a good buff. I think this card wasn't good before. It wasn't popular. And now at least, you know, it starts with adjacent. So if you have some spell damage, if you've sold some Shoalfins, for instance, then now we're looking at least a bigger payoff. And then with Drakari, right, this will be twice on everything. If it's golden, 4 times on everything, and so on. So yeah, seems like a fun buff. Eternal Knight. Oh man, it's now +3/+1. This started at 1/1, right? And then they made it 2/1, and now they're making it 3/1. I feel like this is I don't know what movie that is, but it's that meme like, stop trying to make Eternal Knight happen. It's not gonna happen, right?
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Only I don't think it's true. I think it's at some that's the beauty of Battlegrounds, right? You can just change the number, and at some point it's good. They've done that in the past with Guff, where Guff was just unplayable. Guff was this tempo hero. It wasn't the value hero that we know him now. Guff was, by the way, a success story in terms of reworks, right? That was a glow up, right? Guff went from, you know, to like, oh my god, that's actually a pretty sweet hero power now. Anyways, what changed is in one particular patch, they changed a 1 into a 2, and they made Guff from like a pretty bad hero into statistically the best performing hero in the game. Because they changed his hero power to give +2/+1 instead of +1/+1. That was insane, right? So that's how much it can matter, right? Literally from like obscurity into, oh, statistically best performing hero across all brackets. So that always stuck with me to be like, oh yeah, if you change a 1 into a 2 or so, that might seem like a small change. It's not. So here, with Eternal Knight, that makes a trinket better, it makes a summoner better. Realistically speaking, again, because we're still in trinket meta, because we're still in anomaly meta, you want compositions that can use that extra gold. And Eternal Knight doesn't really do that. So let's say you end up playing with summoners, you don't really use a golden brand or roll a bunch of cards and get a lot of stuff. So you have to imagine that, you know, you're still pretty capped because you're scaling into combat. And generally speaking, compositions that scale into combat do better in slower metas. Metas where there's fewer resources available, because these compositions will scale regardless, right? Because you'll still have the same number of combats, or, you know, roughly comparable. But in anomaly meta and trinket meta, compositions that rely on the tavern phase to get buffed, they're massively buffed, right? If you're playing something like Doubleheader, you have so many more resources every turn. You can just pop off. You can make Golden Brand a lot easier. You can play Grifters and get a bunch of gold. So that's always what you want to keep in mind, right? It's like, how does the anomaly change my economy? And if the economy is really good in the game, then combat buff strategies are a lot worse. All right, we see a Moros buff 5-3 to 6-4, and the buff goes from 3-5 to 4-6. That's fine. I mean, nobody's complaining about Moros. Moros is really that guy that you play when you have butchering. With Noisel, right? You have Noisel on the board, and you're like, oh, Moros, how good of you. Now die, Moros, die. Yeah, that's how I feel about Moros. I'm always happy to butcher. Because it's reborn, you can do it twice, you get plus 10 damage on all your undead. But yeah, I mean, tripling into this earlier now with the right board, it is a little stronger, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Moros' role changes a lot. I think Moros is pretty much still just your butcher target. And in some very specific scenarios, if you have Moros and you triple into KT, you're like, okay, let me just do that for 2 rounds, make a golden Moros with the KT, but you're not sticking with that again, right? Because the scaling is too capped, right? Even with a KT and like a Drakari or something, and you're killing him over and over, it's still kind of capped compared to what, you know, these spell damage comps can do, the Murloc, the demons and stuff. Although, you know, we are seeing those nerfs. Hollow Rover has a Divine Shield again. So when this thing had Divine Shield, it was absurdly broken. Again, different meta, different times, right? Not that long ago, but Trinket meta, Anomaly meta. So again, Hollow Rover is a combat scaling unit. We have a lot more resources, so combat scaling is worse, you know, just purely relatively speaking, compared to the average power level of what you can do in anomalies and trinkets. But yeah, this is a lot better, right? If you triple into this early, it's because the Divine Shield makes it more likely that it's going to swing twice, and when it swings twice, it's more likely you're going to get the Wind Fury. Once you have the Wind Fury, you might farm 3 or 4 times per fight, so any little advantage you give to the Hollow Rover early scales really well, because it just gives him that many more magnetics, that many more shots on target, get the Reborn, get the Wind Fury, right? You have all that extra money. So I don't think it's going to break the game all of a sudden, but it's a much better triple right now. It's so much better to triple into this. Shadow Dancer is now tier 5. That's good. It was a little too easy to just pick up a Shadow Dancer on 4, and then when you're on 5, you hit the Baddie Terror Guard and you hit the Felfire. Now everything's on 5, right? You have Shadow Dancer on 5, Felfire on 5, your Drakari, your Tidus are on 5, your Baddie Terror Guard's on 5. So given what I just talked about, all the additional resources you have in Anomaly meta, in Trinket meta, in certain lobbies, that's still not gonna matter that much, just because you'll have the money and you can set it up. But simply the consistency will go down, because you won't randomly have Shadow Dancer on your board from tier 4. And this is what happened a lot for me. Shadow Dancer just happened to be in my shop, and I looked at my shop and I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense to buy it here. And now it's on my board. And now if I find the tier 5 demon stuff, I can immediately take advantage of it, right? If I find a Felfire Conjurer, I already have something that utilizes spell damage. But now you'll have to be a little bit more deliberate about demons, where it needs to be a big pivot. It's a big investment. Everything's on 5. So that's good. Demons were really strong. This makes it more annoying to play demons. And then Tardy Traveler goes to tier 4 because it was on tier 5, and it's too many demons on 5 if they put the Shadow Dancer there. And that's also fun because it's a little bit like moving Blue Shell to tier 4. It just gives you more options to have a sweet turn, right? You have Tardy Traveler in the shop. There's a Scope in the shop. Buy Traveler, sell Traveler. You now get Scope for 2 gold. You get to discover a unit of your type, right, for 2 gold. That's very strong. So there are some cool interactions with that. It gives you a little bit more comeback potential on tier 4. So that's fun. Oh, look at what they did to my boy. Captain Sanders. They made him a 10-10. Bastards. They buffed him. Yeah, I mean, this is bad now, right? Make a friendly minion golden. The text on that was make a friendly Moira golden. Actually, it's often misunderstood, right? Make a friendly Moira, Darjira, or Arcane Behemoth golden. That was actually the text on this. But yeah, now it's changed. Make a friendly pirate golden. You may have noticed that none of the cards I mentioned were pirates, so it has no text anymore. Make a friendly gambler golden and get 6 gold. Oh, this could be tier 6. Yeah. Probably, yeah. Yeah. This is not a card anymore, right? Because what pirates in a tier 7 lobby are you even goldening? Nothing, right? Nothing. Alright. Well, yeah, this is... I honestly don't really like this. I think tier 7 had a lot of haters. And this is your work, haters. I hope you're proud of yourselves. There were so many interesting things, like Sanders was just always this little like, I could hit a Sanders. I can make a golden Bram. I can make a golden Moira. All right, there's always like that potential, like I could put it next to Murkai, I could pop off. But there were so many tier 7 haters. I'm pretty sure this is their work. I wouldn't have wanted him nerfed. So I was actually pretty happy with like the power level, just because it's a tier 7. It's supposed to be broken, okay? It's supposed to be broken. It's not supposed to be balanced if it's tier 7. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, this is trash now, right? Like, this card needs nerfed. Chief, get out of here. What do you know about this game, Chief? Okay, so I'll put it this way. Now that it is this version, I think this is worse. Obviously, it's lower power level, but I think worse for the game. It's just not... Because the main goal of the game is to have fun, right? And that's the thing, right? Like, Jeef is like, no, the main goal of the game is to destroy my opponents. And I get that, right? We come at it from a different perspective. I play this game because I wanna build crazy shit. I wanna have fun. I wanna have super memorable games. And yeah, is this thing instantly goldening Zarjira and instantly goldening Moira and stuff? Is that balanced? No, but I am okay with tier 7 being unbalanced. I want to have the crazy stuff, because this is what I always say, right? You don't want to balance the fun out of the game, right? Because we could just turn it into chess. And sure, there's a lot of people that like chess, but everyone that's here, right? We're playing Battlegrounds because we like Battlegrounds, not because we like chess, right? A little imbalance is fun. It's cool to high roll. Anyways, this is a completely different debate, right? That we can have a different time. But yeah, Sanders, bad. Bellowing Tyrant. It's now a 4/3 and it gets +4/+3 for each beast you summon. I'm gonna be honest, I actually don't have a good... I can't conceptualize it, or I guess imagine it, like what point the Bellowing Tyrant would be good. We know it wasn't good at 3/2. I don't assume it's gonna be good at 4/3, but again, there is a number, right? If you turn it into 100, it's broken, obviously, right? I summon 2 beasts, that's +200, 200. But I don't know where that point is. Like, what is the point where you say, oh, this is now worth it in a tier 7 lobby? I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find out, right? Intuitively, I don't think it's good now, right? Because we have so many ways to pop off in a tier 7 lobby. Although fewer now, right? With Sanders being nerfed, so no instant Golem Zarjira, no instant Golem Moira. But this feels like it's still not going to be fast enough. Boomobile 3030. I don't know why, but this change is so funny to me. This is Blizzard saying, play Boomobile, pick more boom. You will pick the Boomobile and you will like it. Yeah, I mean, a 30-30 that reborns as a 30 damage Divine Shield. Funny, right? Funny. It's at the point, right, when you triple into this is like pretty unethical tempo, where you don't magnetize this when you triple into it, unless it's on, I guess, Atrocity or so for a Reborn. But you actually like this Reborning as its base version, because then you have a 30 damage Divine Shield. So this doesn't really change the function of the card, because you're not scaling with Boomobile. There's no Foe Reaper in the game right now. It doesn't change the function. It just means that when you triple into it early, it's now even more tempo. But it doesn't really, the function doesn't change. It's not like you're going to scale by playing a bunch of Boomobiles. It's like, I will add another +30/+30 and another +30+, like that. It's not fast enough, right? So it's a funny change, and basically, sure, go for it, but I don't think it really matters. I'll put it that way. Now, this is a very different change, right? Functionality here, still the same. Functionality here, right? You can do stuff with this now. So this used to be a minion that you tripled into early, and then you buffed your tavern a bit, and then you sold it. Or if you're playing something like Thorim, you could keep it on your board, play Fellbath and all that. Now we have Battle Cry and Death Rattle. Minions in the tavern have 5/5 this game, plus 5/5. So Moira, Rylak, Chicken. Brrr. This thing can go brrr, which is pretty funny. I think that's fine. Again, we'll have to see how broken it is, but I don't think Morgul was changed, right? So you still just have Morgul to steal all your stats. But it's a fun change. I think this is in the right direction, because I think this is a good example of, regardless of whether it's balanced or not, right? We'll have to figure that out. But this card just became more fun. This card was like kind of like, oh, I keep it on my board and it's a little bit annoying and I have the 10/10, I'm gonna have to sell it at some point, into, oh, this is now a scaling engine. It's gonna keep getting bigger, so I can keep it and I can feel good about it. So we'll have to see exactly how it plays up, but it's a fun change. So it's a good change in my opinion, right? I like fun a lot. I look at patch changes primarily like how fun is this, and then balance is also important, but secondary to me. Okay, then we have a duos change. Yeah, this thing was just, I don't know. Well, it exists because it's really fun, but it really shouldn't have been a 4-drop. So tier 5, I think, is a good change. Yeah, this was just put it next to Reborn, Rylak, and again, right? Insta max gold. It's just so strong in duos. I don't play a lot of duos, but I've got friends that do it, and they were talking about it all the time. Like, yeah, it's so broken. All right, then we have Blade of Ambition. It goes from a 6 cost to a 7 cost, which is already a reasonable nerf, but the big one is here. The previous one was choose a minion. This one says choose a friendly minion. So now you can target your board, but not the shop. That is a huge nerf, because what people would do with Blade of Ambition was create a large minion, then Blade of Ambition the shop, and then Zarjira on the shop. So you would just get ways too strong. This one, even though it was fun, here I will pull the balance card and say that was over the top. Because it's literally like you have 0 chance to beat this if you're not doing it, right? It's incredibly dumb. Because you're here, imagine you're just cooking up your, let's say you're playing Sargeras and you're like, yeah, my shop has 200, let's go. My opponent has a board of 1 million damage cleaves. What happened, right? Oh, he used this card. So yeah, this is insane, man. So again, for anyone who's never seen this, I've got videos on this, Chief got videos on this, most YouTubers have videos on this. I even have a short on it that recently released. You make a huge minion, you Blade of Ambition it in the shop, and then you try to have as many Zarjiras on your board as possible, and then you just copy that minion over and over and over, and then it will triple the stats. And then if you have more Blade of Ambitions, you can repeat that process. So people were doing that with magnetics, and they were just magnetizing everything on top of each other, so their biggest minion got even bigger faster, and you could then use Blade of Ambition again in the shop. It was just pretty insane. So very, I think very necessary change, this one, because it was too silly. Like there was like 0.0% chance to beat someone doing this if they were, high rolling and doing it properly, right? And then Mutinous is back. That's great. Mutinous is such a fun card. It was very sad to see it disabled for the horse comp, but again, we've seen that horse was changed now. It only works outside of the tavern phase, so only in combat. So you can no longer abuse it with KT to get these huge status horses. All right, guys, that's the patch. Let's do some games. It was fun.